1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Just so many hours you spent on the phone, I wasted here loving you. Now you gonna tell me that you're on your own, you're leaving me sad and blue. Just so many days you've been on my mind, you been stop trouble on down the line. Cool if I go, cool if I stay, tell you what I'm gonna do. Tell you what I'm gonna do. Tell you what I'm gonna do. Let it roll, let it glide, let it fall.
And howdy. Pie Box Dwellers, Mr. Producer.
Yes, sir.
Crisp as ever. They sounded great.
They do.
That was the remix that you heard today. The remastered remix for us. Episode 43, the Clay and Woodrow Show. I apologize, we have been on a brief hiatus, and it makes me feel good because people do even ask me, why haven't I seen a show in the last 2 or 3 weeks? And that's because of me.
And we can say back by popular demand.
Well, that's a bit of a stretch.
Back by demand.
Back by some element of demand. Episode 43, got a lot of things, but let's go first of all with our sponsor. Whoop, whoop. No, that's not my noise. What do I do?
Yeah.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, there you go.
Whoop,
There you
whoop.
go.
That's it. Whoop, whoop. It's been so long, I forgot my special effects, but you can fix all that in editing.
Oh, yeah. We'll
We'll take care of that.
right on out.
So, you remember
Who is that masked man up there?
we stopped doing we stopped doing necessarily businesses and just picked out individuals that are making an impact in the community. And this, my friend, whoop whoop, is Uncle D, Derek Jones. I'm going to mess up where he works. I'm going to mess up his title. Derek does not know that I'm doing this. Derek's not asked to do this. Derek is not associated with the show. Or what am I supposed to say to keep Derek out of being in trouble?
I think we covered it.
Okay, but Derek works for, I guess you would call it the Department of Public Health.
That is a place.
Okay, and as we would all just say it, like the health department. He works for the health department. I think it's the Department of Public Health. But there is a team of people, and Derek would be the first one to tell you it is a team of people. It is not just Derek, but Derek is instrumental. It is the most organized process of folks going to get their COVID shots, and they should really they could teach Chick-fil-A something. You hear me?
That's good.
That's good. And Derek is kind of head of that team, and I want to be careful when I say head. I'm not. There's lots of people involved, and I don't want to get Derek in any trouble. But Derek and his team. So this this picture of Derek is really a thank you to those people that are all a part of this ongoing effort to get people with vaccinated. And so we appreciate Uncle D and all that he does for the community. But let me say this. And not as a team, but as an individual, heck of a decorator.
Really?
That's where his real calling is going to be. I don't know. Derek, I'm sure, has got many, many more years at the Department of Public Health or the Health Department. but decorating, he is the best decorator going. So if you ever need any I don't know that Derek will do decorating for other people. I probably should have asked him before I said that. But he did it for my family, and one of the most talented, gifted people around. And I will say this as a bonus, probably the sweetest daughter on planet Earth other than my own very Neely Thomas. So Derek covers all of those things. But we are very grateful for what he and his team are doing for Southeast Georgia. And my dad, who occasionally watches this show, not one for compliments. I grew up in a household with him for some 22 years, and I can remember those on this hand.
Yeah.
I was in his office the other day, and he didn't even know that I know Derek. He says, "Clay, I'm going to tell you something. That whole vaccination process, that was the smoothest thing that I've ever been through in my life." And I was like,
boy.
"Whoa, wait a second." So
Has he been to Chick-fil-A, though?
He probably has been to
And he
Chick-fil-A.
still said
He
that it
still
was well
thinks
run.
that
Wow.
that's right. He would still go because he would probably not like the corner, the fry that's the fat fry on the end of the potato. My dad probably throw those away.
I'm not a big fan of those either.
When you get like this, you eat any fry that comes around. Hey, can I tell you something though? Not on our agenda, but I have gone to the gym 39 out of 40 days.
Good Lord.
39 out of 40 days, and so I was about to. Let's see. That's. The gym life has been treating me well.
Did you get a sticker to put on your truck? that says the gym line.
I do not, but if I go 59 out of 60 days, much like CrossFit, I will just feel it necessary to tell you a gym story every time that we have an encounter.
Well, that's we call that content.
Yeah, just like you'll be telling me something heartfelt about your family, and I'll just stick out my hand and just like, whoa, wait a second. I know that your family's in a little distress right now, but have I told you about my muscle ups? So I'm going to be on the CrossFit, kind of plan of letting you know. But that what I'm doing in the gym is more important than anything possible that you could be doing in your life. So I'm going to go back to our last. So you remember I gave CrossFit a little bit of a hard time, and I thought a CrossFit and essential oils should have had more of a
response to the.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
You're welcome.
They should have been more engaged, even organically at the very beginning of solving the whole COVID issue. And they were like crickets, and they didn't say anything.
Nothing.
And so I think some people might have taken that a little bit too seriously. I'm just really just picking on CrossFit. That's all that I'm trying to do.
Sure.
And I would never do this other than the fact that she and her husband both have a very good personality and don't mind. I hope they don't, because I'm about to do so. But Mindy Tyndall, she did let me know, and I should go back and read this. I should be more prepared, but I just thought of it. She did say that having a physically fit body was very important. And I was just like, man, that is groundbreaking information that Mindy let us know. That as far as your overall health, it was very important to stay physically fit. And I was just like, well, thank you for that.
I don't agree enough to actually go through with it.
That's right.
I can't argue with it.
Don't get carried away. And I was just like, well, man, that's breaking news at 6:00, Mindy. But we do appreciate you, weighing in on that. But I think I just hit a little note with her because she's a CrossFitter.
Yeah,
she's a CrossFitter, and so I think I hit a little
avid,
and her and John both live the life.
Very fit people.
John does not do essential oils that I know of, so we're good. We're good with that. So, I'm all over the board. But so once again, we say thank you to Derek and to his team. We send our love to Mindy Tyndall as we just threw her under the bus. And then so here's a big announcement, and we kind of hinted at this early, but I had to make it official.
Yeah.
But one of the things, we have a bull nanza in this town, a bull nanza, and they get local folks that you would love to see be just thrown off of a 1,200-pound bull.
Yeah.
And you're just like, who is somebody that I would love to be tragically hurt on top of a bull?
I think I feel where this is going.
And apparently my name came to the top of the list. So it is a fundraiser. I will be bull riding on April the 24th. That's a Saturday. I don't have my tickets yet. So Danny Varnador is supposed to bring me 3 things. All right, tickets, 1, because I'm going to sell. Now I think the tickets are $10. I'll be honest with you, I'm not really sure what they are. I'm going to buy the tickets. I'm going to make somebody give me the $10. But what I'm riding for is for the Okefenokee Miracle League, because by George, we're going to build that complex for those kids and those special folks in our family. In our community. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get my $10 back for the ticket, but then I'm going to get a contribution made out to the Okefenokee Miracle League. And so I'm going to have that to be. So I'm about to be, hitting people up. But Danny Varnador's got to bring me 3 things. And Danny's been willing to do this. Number 1, he's got to bring me some tickets, and he's going to. Mm-hmm. The night that I ride is not Friday. It's Saturday night on April the 24th. My attorney said that $10 was not nearly enough to watch me be thrown off of a bull. And he feels like that he is cheating me. This is Dan Bennett. Yeah. And he would like to pay a lot more money than $10 to see me thrown off of a bull, but he would be there. And he also made note that would not be something that he would ordinarily attend. But to see me to be propelled from a bull and possibly hurt myself, that he would not miss it. And so I said, well, thank you very much. And then we just checked the file to make sure that my will was up to date. But Danny, the 3 things, tickets, and number 2, I don't have any Wrangler jeans. And Danny is like me. He's small and fit. And Danny probably wears about a 30 waist, 30 length, just like me, a 30.
I'm thinking that's your twin brother.
Yeah, that is my twin brother, is Danny Varnador. Of course, we both wear the same stuff, but I don't have any Wranglers. You know what I'm saying? And he's going to bring me some of his 30 Wranglers, and I'm going to jump right into those bad boys. He's going to bring me some tickets. And then I'm not going to be satisfied without a belt buckle that is somewhere around the size of a football. I want a belt buckle somewhere the size, because there's nothing that a fat kid needs to do that as he's getting propelled into the ground is to have a large metal object be shoved up into his gut. And so I need a large belt buckle to make it really uncomfortable, when I land. I asked Danny, I was like, okay, Danny, ha, 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 I'm riding a bull, but all kidding aside, man, I have to be at work on Monday mornings. Am I going to get hurt? And Danny's just like, well, I'm not saying you won't get hurt. He goes, but the worst thing that'll happen to you is listen to this, Dan. And he said it just like it wasn't that big of a deal. Like, well, you twist your ankle, but he's just like, you can get stepped on. I was like, yeah, that's what I don't want. He goes, well, I can't tell you you're not going to get stepped on. So I'm taking one for the team for the Okie Finoki Miracle League, and I will be selling these tickets. But more than anything, I'm going to be asking for a contribution, $5 or $500. Who knows? But
sure,
I'm going to be trying to sell those tickets. So see me. I think I might even have the tickets tomorrow. I had to touch base with Danny. Don't have them yet, but Danny's getting them to me, and he's bringing me some Wranglers, 33, the dark blue ones.
Yeah,
almost got the crease. Down the front of the leg where they've been starched up and they're hard as a rock. I want those.
Yeah. They'll stand up by themselves.
Yeah, I want those kind of Wrangler jeans, and then I want some type of shirt, the collared shirt that's real thin with the pearl colored snaps, and it's got the etching in it.
You got to have that
kind of cowboy shirt, but I want it really tight also.
You've been going to the gym. You deserve it.
Been going to the gym.
Wear that tight stuff.
Yeah, 30-30s. So please come out and see me, and more than anything, we got to raise funds. We've got to. We're a sports crazy town, and I love that. That's one of the reasons I like this town. I'm a sports crazy guy, but we don't have a field for our special needs players to play ball. That's just we're hypocritical, all of us.
Yeah.
I'm chief amongst those. We're hypocritical that we don't have that field. And then here's the second thing is we've decided, and this is our biggest mistake. Well, we're going to wait on local government. That's crazy. Have we? Well, you want to talk about local government? I'll transition right into those bad boys. They just announced. Now, this is the city of Waycross, whose ship has sailed years ago as far as being responsible with money, finances, term limits, any of those kind of things. In the same day that they announced a 3.2% increase in the millage rate, they also announced that they were going to give the mayor and all the commissioners a pay raise. Now, we just had our genius Congress and president. Keep in mind, I wasn't a fan of the last one. I'm sure not a fan of this one to say, listen, when going through a pandemic, what we need to do is with no discretion and with no plan and just start handing out money to everybody. And by the way, if you procreate a whole bunch, then you get a whole bunch of money. And I'm not being flippant. People are like, well, Clay, that's not harsh. That's what the bill reads. The more kids you have, the more money we're going to send you. I mean, we're just going to dump it into your lap. And by all means, if you have a bunch of kids, we're going to send a whole bunch more money, to you. So you're rewarded for procreation. And if you've not lost your job, you're still getting money. It doesn't matter. Not if you've lost your job or if you've been adversely affected. I don't have any problems with that. If you've been adversely affected, I want to help you in any way that we can, even if we do that through the government, which is not my favorite mechanism to help people, as I have shared on this show many times before. Yeah. I don't have problems with that. But I like what we're doing. Regardless of how you're doing, even if you're doing better than ever, we're just going to start writing you checks as fast as we can. And they say we're going to send you money. Well, the United States government really can't, and I'm way off track now, so your job is to get me back on to bull riding.
I like where this is going.
Wherever we're at.
We're good.
But what we're going to do is not use the Labor Department to see who's affected and who's lost their job. We're just going to say anybody who falls under this total economic line, we're just going to start sending you checks. And they said, well, because we're sending you money. You're not sending money. That's the misnomer. That's not what it is at all. You are simply taking from some people and giving it to others. Just printing money, that has to be paid for at some point in time. Mm-hmm. So it's a cost shift. We're shifting cost over from people that do have it over to people that don't have it, or people that do have it and don't need it and they're still getting it. And we're printing money so that my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren can pay for our spending habits based upon this pandemic. So anyhow, with all that being said, our city government acts the exact same way. If we run short, don't worry, we'll just raise the millage rate. That's what we're going to do, and we'll just have the good tax-paying citizens. So why is one of the reasons that the millage rate went up? Because we've got to pay for the new, because the time to take a pay raise is right in the middle of a pandemic. That's the smart time to take a pay raise, is right when our country has just said, listen, apparently we're going into economic shambles because we're just going to start popping checks into people's mailboxes. Hey, commissioners down in Waycross, Georgia, where things are really tight because you're in rural South Georgia, why don't you give yourself a pay raise?
Yeah.
That sounds like a great idea. So back to the mistake that Miracle League type, not the organization, but people that say, well, Clay, we need to wait for SPLOST, and SPLOST isn't going to do it. First of all, we're not going to vote for another SPLOST in many, many years because of how the regional transportation tax was handled, and it was handled very poorly. And then how we do handle our SPLOST dollars, nobody's ever going to vote for SPLOST at least another 10 or 20 years. It's not going to pass. Education SPLOST might, because you can pull on the heartstrings of people when you deal with education, and you'll say, oh, we want Johnny to get an education. So that might pass. But they're going to use things like a Miracle League baseball field to pull at your heartstrings to kind of get you to vote for another SPLOST tax. Don't fall for that. Mm-hmm. Ware County, the county government has zero interest in us having a Miracle League field. And I'm going to remind you, I'm not on the Okefenokee Miracle League's board, even if they ask me, and I'm not saying they have or they haven't asked me, but I would not be on it, so I can say things like this and not get them into trouble. I have no affiliation with them other than I want to raise money for them. Mm-hmm. Is they will the Ware County, the government has no interest in a SPLOST field. If so, they would have been working on it with grants a long time ago, and they've not done. They want to piggyback the heartstrings of something like that so that they can get a SPLOST passed so that we can have more administrative buildings, which is certainly what we need. So what we need to do, we need to raise people in this community need to get off their wallets, me included, and we need to pay for that. We don't need to let the Ware County government run it to operate it. We need to team up with somebody like the YMCA that's a nonprofit organization that's but anyhow, did I tell you I was bull riding?
Yeah,
I'm bull riding.
That's what I heard.
Raise money for the Okefenokee Miracle League.
I still can't get over the 30-30. The 30-30.
What part of that
Wrangler?
Can you
the
not?
Wranglers, the starch Wranglers?
Yeah, you're not questioning the size.
I can just see you kind of going back and forth.
Yeah,
You know,
I might lose a little mobility. I couldn't get 30-30s around one leg, much less around my waist. But we need to raise those funds organically from people that care about that. And if you don't care about that, you don't need to give funds to it.
Right.
But there's people in this community that do care about that. And raising, I think it's $250,000, $300,000. I was about to get in trouble. I just stopped myself. You know how rare that is?
Yeah.
But I'm going to go ahead and say it anyhow. We spend way more money on that in one season of high school football. One season. If you do depreciation and all that kind of stuff, probably 4 times that amount. $300,000. Let's raise it. Let's build a field.
Yeah.
And let's move forward with the Okefenokee Miracle League. Once again, the issue's not football, but let's treat everything like we do football. Yeah, I don't have an issue with I don't have an issue with football.
Sure.
But if we're going to treat one thing like that, let's treat our special needs kids in the same way, or just understand that we are the hypocrites who we are.
Yeah.
All right. April 24th.
24th.
Raising money.
I'm ready.
All right. Hey, and by the way, the Touchdown Club is one of the other sponsors of that, so they will benefit from that event as well, which I think is a very worthy cause. So you'll be able to support those guys as well. But I'm hitting you up for Okefenokee Miracle League. But if you give money as well to the Touchdown Club, I think that's a phenomenal thing to support as well. Speaking of football, Mr. Producer, will you remember this? You keep up with sports, but you're not ingrained in it. And high school sports, I keep mentioning this guy, Russ Probst, and he was over in Alabama.
Yeah.
And he got into a bunch of trouble in Alabama for a variety of different reasons.
But 2 families.
Having 2 families and taking pictures with those families at the same football game under the same scoreboard on the same night, wearing the same shirt, is problematic.
I'm sorry. I like the guy. I just think he's got some. He's got a lot of courage.
He does have courage, and apparently he can multitask. So you got to give him credit on those. So after 20 plus years of marriage, I know my wife well enough to know I don't think she would approve of that.
Yeah, I mean, mine neither.
Yeah, I have a sneaky suspicion. I think they would say she would frown upon it. Okay.
It would be.
So with that being said, now keep in mind, many would argue that was the least of his offenses because dealing with the education system, he did other things that were much, much worse than that. Who knows? That's
just the tip of the iceberg.
That's just the tip of the iceberg.
Above the water.
Whenever you have a 30-on-30 like ESPN special on a high school football coach's conduct, you've hit kind of a pinnacle of misbehavior. But not to worry, our friends in Moultrie, Georgia at Colquitt County said, bring him right over. Because I know this is going to surprise you because this is football in South Georgia, because they said in that documentary, we're bringing him because he wins football games. Okay. Yeah, because I understand that, because
just overlook all the other
stuff.
Principles,
morals, and ethics should really have nothing to do with the education systems of South Georgia,
right?
Which we see that repeatedly. So you're going to find this hard to believe, but he got in a bunch of trouble also at Colquitt County.
No way.
Yes, and he lost his job at Colquitt County. Even more surprisingly, you're going to say, well, I'm sure he wasn't hired somewhere else, because obviously boards of education must put the interest of students,
somebody's gotten wise,
at the forefront and say, you know what, although he might win football games, that there's other things that we need to look at, because we are stewards of the future of our community, of children. But guess what? Valdosta, Georgia said, oh, wait just a moment. We have no problems with bringing him on board. Now, I know you're going to find this hard to believe, but just yesterday, he was put on administrative leave in Valdosta.
No way.
Because of his behavior and conduct.
I can't believe it.
Is that not surprising? And so here's where we're wrong on all of this. We're wrong on all of this in that we keep saying what a bad fella Russ Propst is. That's not the problem. He's not the problem. He is who he's always been. Give him credit. He's been consistent at every stop that he's made and done. So he's not the problem, and we keep throwing daggers at him. He's captain consistency. The problem is communities and school boards like Valdosta and Colquitt County who just say, you know what? We don't care. Wins, especially in football, are more important to us than anything else. And that's what that community said, because they knew exactly what they were getting. And then you say, well, Clay, you can't blame the whole community. Well, yeah, you can. That's the community that voted on those school board members that just turned a blind eye of, ESPN documentaries about his behavior and said, it doesn't matter because we stand a chance of beating Lowndes County. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
And guess what? On administrative leave yesterday. So, Russ Probst, I don't have a problem with you. You've been consistent. You are who you say you are.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with you. I got a problem with Valdosta. You know, if, Mr. Producer, if you owned an ice cream store, hypothetically, and you said, you know what, we need a little help around here, and you put the help wanted sign out, and a guy came in to you and said, listen, I've worked at 3 previous ice cream stores, and Mr. Producer, I want to work at your ice cream store, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you this, because if you do a little bit of research on me, you're going to find at the 3 previous ice cream stores that I've been at, I have stolen ice cream from everywhere that I've worked. I've also not treated customers particularly well. You can see that on camera. You can see that on police reports. You can see that on, it doesn't matter. Vanilla, Rocky Ridge, cookies and cream, I steal it all.
Yeah.
And you said,
was he on 60 Minutes too?
Yes.
Stealing all this
for stealing ice cream.
Yeah. This at the very least, red flag.
Perhaps a red flag. So if you say, you know what, I'm going to roll the dice on this guy, because it also says that when he worked in those ice cream stores, that they want some ice cream competitions. I'm going to take my chances with this guy. Yeah. And then that night, the first night that he works, because listen, it doesn't take 2 or 3 weeks down the road with this ice cream guy. And the first night you check your cameras at home and you can see him stealing that rocky road as fast as he can. He's sticking it down in his pants.
Yeah.
You know whose fault that is? That's your fault.
Yeah,
it's not his fault.
No.
He told you.
Yeah, he did.
He told you in the interview, I am a thief of ice cream.
I appreciate him telling me.
Why in the world would you ever hire me? But I love ice cream so much, I can't give up ice cream. Would you hire me? And you said, well, why not? It's your fault.
Yeah.
And so that is where we are in high school sports in South Georgia. Now, here's the crazy thing. He will be hired again. He will be hired again. Now, I will say, in a hidden camera recording kind of thing, he also came out and said in a thing that has now been made public, he was very adamant about Kirby Smart and Nick Saban paying players to come to the University of Georgia and to the University of Alabama. That was called on the recording. And by the way, I don't doubt for a moment that players at Alabama and players at Georgia have been paid before. I think Kirby and Nick are smart enough not to, take it out of their pocket. Nor am I suggesting that they've ever had anything to do with someone, paying. But for him to say that I think what he's trying to say is that the booster club, the network of people gets players paid. And to some degree, that's out of the control of Nick Saban. And if I own a car dealership, and I don't know if you know, but car dealers are infamous in paying off college football players. That's back from the 80s. That's gone off. There's always been.
I didn't know that.
Owners of car dealerships have been famous for it. And so can I promise you that some car dealer has not given some University of Georgia linebacker $2,000 on that? I can't promise you that, nor can Kirby Smart promise you that. They would be investigated for that kind of thing. But Probst also just kind of weighed in on that. And he's a big friend of Saban's. Saban was hiring him to come work on the Alabama staff when he heard about the double family in Alabama, and he called and confronted Probst about it, and Probst immediately told him that what you are hearing is not rumor, it is true. Well, it is also rumor, but it happens to be true. It happens to be true rumor.
Not only is it a rumor, it's also true.
Yeah. So that's what is going on.
I'm not only the president, I'm also the client.
That is correct. I don't know if I mentioned. Did I mention this? The city of Waycross commissioners and the mayor want to give themselves a pay raise. I might have mentioned that.
You did.
I just thought I'd mention again in case somebody was kind of skipping through the Clay and Woodrow show and they missed that part. They'd get to this part and they'd just say, well, certainly that's not true.
When did this happen?
We're in the middle of a pandemic. I'm pulling it over right. So you might say, Clay, the Clay and Woodrow show, y'all are not known for doing your homework, your research. And I'd say, you are correct. But I'm looking at the Waycross opportunity in every direction, which seems to indicate then with that expression that opportunity is not here because you have to go in every direction. But anyhow, that's neither nor there.
It's down the road.
March the 2nd, 2021, item under, that's my phone. I'm so sorry. Item V, consideration of official action, and then ordinances, section D, an ordinance of the City of Waycross to amend the chapter of the City of Waycross to increase the salary and compensation of the mayor and commissioners.
Was this like last month or this month?
March the 2nd.
Oh, wow. This is fresh.
Oh, this is fresh. Yeah. I mean, because this is the time to do that kind of thing. Right when your country's going through a pandemic. And people, according to the president, is, they're struggling.
What would happen to their, just out of curiosity, can I?
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
What would happen to their positions if they were to consolidate?
Oh, consolidation. What a topic. So we hadn't really covered consolidation on the show.
Not really, but there's
so. Can I tell you? And this is where I wish I didn't have to make a living in the community, because then I really speak freely, and then I say stuff like that, and then I normally say what I was going to say anyhow. But consolidation, if people were honest about it, there are two reasons that it will not occur very soon, and then I'll touch on those on a later show. And people are just like, "Oh, Clay, be careful." Well, they're just true. Number one is race. There's a lot of sensitivity with race, with the county being predominantly white and the city being predominantly black. And people can pretend like, well, that's not really, it is an issue. That's certainly an issue. And people that say that it's not an issue, they're either ignorant or they're just not being honest. But race is part of the issue. The second thing is, and I think second to race, is the two different police departments and the sheriff's department. People get really, really sensitive about that. And you start talking about how much sense it makes and all of those kind of things. But I will tell you that's when people get really, sensitive, because here's the third thing is people are like, well, people might lose their jobs. Well, yeah, that's what happens when things become more effective. That's not
efficient.
That's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, efficiency does sometimes create job losses, but the real sensitivity is between the difference in the city police and the fire department, not the fire departments as much. But I will tell you, and here's a crazy idea, there's a way to do it. If we had real leadership in the county or in the city, you might say, well, Clay, you were a city commissioner. Were you not a real leader? No, I wasn't. I was 25 years old and probably shouldn't even been a city commissioner. I was doing my best. But what they would look at doing is to do gradual consolidation. There's no reason that you can't at least start doing your insurance together. We used to do that at one point in time. Your payroll together, your purchasing together. I mean, there are departments that can begin to attempt consolidation to start that process. But I can promise you the city of Waycross, I mean, they're not going to give up the keys to the car when all they need to do is raise the millage rate by 3% and at the same time give themselves a pay raise. Yeah. So they're not looking for consolidation because the consolidation would mean that you're looking for efficiency, and everything that's in this report that I'm looking at, they're not looking for efficiencies. They're looking to raise the millage rate and put it on the backs of taxpayers, and that's why everybody's moving to Pierce County. These guys aren't smart enough to realize that. Well, I shouldn't say that. They probably are smart enough to realize that. They just don't care. Yeah. And so that's what we're dealing with now. And then we need term limits because we have people that have served on the commission for 20 years, which is just unacceptable. Now, I will say, in fairness, the voters should remove those people, but they also should not allow themselves to continue to serve for, 10, 12, 14, 16. I mean, I served one term, and I thought that was appropriate, and I let people know at the 2-year mark of my term that I would not be serving again because I don't think it's something that you should do. I think you should get new people in there, new ideas. Mm-hmm. But 8 years would be a max that I think people need to, to serve. But I notice one of the ordinances is not to limit their time they can serve, but it's just to give themselves a pay raise. So that's very disappointing. And I'll be honest, I don't know how that vote went. I have a feeling I know how that vote went, but I don't know how that vote went. I've not read a paper or kept up with it or anything. And so it might have been defeated. So I might be jumping to conclusions there. Man.
Something to look at.
What mark are we at? What time are we at?
Oh, we're
I've been rambling on.
Cruising right along.
At 26 minutes, I'm gonna say.
30.
Oh, we got to quit.
30-minute.
We got to land this plane. Mr. Producer, anything that you need to add?
No, it's been great. Enjoying being back.
And we'll do this more regularly.
Yeah,
that's on me. That's my bad. Been a little busy, but I thank you for all that you do. And for the old Clay and Woodrow show, I thank Woody over there who's been on camera.
And he left camera.
He left camera.
Now moved over to the corner.
Oh, sorry about that, guys.
He's good. He's
not cooperating. We'll dock his pay. You guys have a phenomenal weekend. Great to see you.
Off the side, let her go, let it ride.